even less sense than the first. Of course, these rooms are non-linear, so doing them in reverse order is perfectly cool, trust me. It's all a part of my hashtag vision. Black Forest 2 represents Sunny breaking down. The Maris walking around, Kel sprinting in circles, and Sweathort. They're all in a perpetual cycle of meaningless nothing. They exist to briefly try and distract from the real root of the problems present here, which is kind of a theme in this room. Let's start with an easy one. The room in the clouds with the telephone that gives you random quotes. All of which are lines telemarketers would say. To even get to the phone though, you have to go through a ton of creepily frozen Maris. Quite the walk. Fun fact, but hug the ceiling and there's a chance that you could be teleported to the dev room. I didn't get it here, but it can happen. More importantly, telemarketers are typically offering an easy way out for problems. Taking the walk to get to the phone into account, I think this is showing that Sunny wants such a thing. A cheat to bring Mari back or to travel to happier times. Makes sense, but sadly, such a thing doesn't exist. Trying to find one or thinking there is one in the first place only means one thing. You've been duped, and as the telephone so aptly puts, right next to where you spawn, there's a box that screams, "It's my fault," over and over again. It's pretty clearly Sunny screaming at himself. I think all the quotes you can get from the boxes in Black Space are linked together now that I think about it. I mean, Sunny saying, "It's all my fault and it was an accident," makes sense to be followed with Sunny's mom comforting him. Well, a messed up form of comforting which is self-centered, but still, it is something. Something that probably didn't last long as Sunny got himself into escapism and recycling to distract himself from himself. Why do I bring up recycling? You might be asking. Smart as you are, it's kind of a non sequitur, isn't it? Kinda, but it's because it's not just a meme in the IRL route. Way down here in Headspace is a radio that plays Morse code centered around the concept. Shoutouts to this video for translating it. Again, link below. For a summary, it's an unhinged ramble about recycling as various different music pieces play in the background. Remember back in the weather vane portion when I talked about how the mind will dissociate and go somewhere else when trauma is replaying? Well, something similar is happening here, except Sunny has something to focus on devoutly. I think it's all indicative of how he tries to hyperfixate on things to stifle his breakdowns when entering white space isn't an option. I mean, his part of the duet he was supposed to perform with Mari is playing while Morse code screams recycling as a concept. It's probably something he got super into as a cope for a bit. Something like the abandoned concepts in Cloud Walkway. Sunny eventually discarded. Question: did anyone like playing hide and seek in Omori? I found it fun like once in a while, but anymore is just a little much. I like the eerie feeling I got from playing it, but conversely, the boredom I had from nothing actually happened just made it feel like too much of a tease. I'm glad I did do it though, because down here in Black Space, the concept is subverted beautifully, with the mirror breaking and a shattered Omori searching for you this time. This reads to me as Sunny not being happy with the self-image. You know, he looks into the mirror and all he sees is a murderous monster. The shattered Omori is just a physical manifestation of that idea in his brain. In theming with Black Forest 2 being all about spiraling, I know when I'm down in the mental pit sometimes it's all I can do to not look at myself and overanalyze every last detail in detestment. I think this is an issue most people can get behind, and Sunny is no exception. Poor lad has the issue way worse too. He wants to be that perfect version of himself that he crafts in Omori, the one who never did any wrong. The one who can still love his sister and be embraced by her. I think the shattered Omori that chases you around here is simply the way Sunny sees himself. When the shattered Omori, or shattered Sunny more like, eventually comes face to face with Omori, he ultimately can't do anything. Seeing his idealized form in front of him, Sunny breaks into pieces. This can also be another visualization of Sunny's ego death. His will is in tatters, and the only thing left is his idol of worship. Everything here is weird and esoteric. It's all screaming, "Don't think." But that's impossible. Reminders of Mari's untimely parting and the afterglow of such on Sunny are everywhere, literally even in the walls. In the classroom recreation, if you sit down in what I'm assuming would be Sunny's spot, faceless entities start staring him down and accusing him of what he did. Jeez, it's no wonder he wanted to drop out of school. I mean, if this is how normal every day felt to him. Everyone in there is out to get him, and worse, he thinks he deserves it. So he hides away. That's how most NEETs start their never going outside shtick. Can you blame Sunny? If this is how things felt and you were constantly dissociating in class, not able to focus on anything, wouldn't running away feel so nice? I think it would. You gotta come back eventually, but I think taking some time to yourself is important. Trying to act like nothing's wrong only leads to becoming more broken. I'll spare you another sleepy life tangent and leave it at that, though. Mental health is a fickle thing. End of story. In a secret room, well, not secret, but the door just feels impossible to find, you enter a narrowing hallway that you have just enough time to get across before encountering this. A creature known as a long snout. Now, a hallway with walls closing in is pretty scary. I think so, at least. Usually, it's a visual metaphor in fiction for the actions of a character catching up to them, too. All their irrationalities, doubt, and fear coming closer and trapping them. The question posed here, then, is do you turn your back from the room and return to the cultural haze of the nonsensical outside? Or do you trudge on in spite of the walls and face your fears? Of which Sunny has a lot. Long Snout here is indicative of how Sunny, maybe under the influence of his mother, but that's just a personal theory, no more, views doctors. Specifically therapists. They tower over him, judging him for anything he might say, writing it down instead of talking to him like a person. Therapy is like mental health. Well, they're directly related, but it's a fickle thing. That's what I'm getting at. You gotta find one that you can talk to, but they feel incredibly rare, most of the time because they are. The one therapy session I had in my life was so goddamn isolating. I was 15 and putting off things mentally for years was starting to catch up to me. The therapist gave me some advice that I could have given myself. I would have put it better too, at 15, mind you. Outside of that one quip, he just wrote down things as I meekly talked the best I could. I couldn't open up much because I could feel it, the realization that this man wasn't looking to help, he was looking for another paycheck. I think therapy can help people, I really do. But one, it's too fucking expensive. And two, my god, if finding a good one isn't hard as shit. Long Snout here is a perfect visual representation for that. The Plague Doctor's attire is what really sells this for me. For a brief history lesson, Plague Doctors rarely made anything better in the places they visited. They just poked their patients with long sticks and said, "Yeah, you're sick, let's drain your blood." Which, believe it or not, didn't work. It's terrifying and an amazing visual representation of how the mind warps and distorts simple things. At one point, you encounter a door that you can walk into, but Omori just immediately walks out, deciding that it wasn't for him. This made me laugh way more than it should have the first time I saw it. There's a lake in the shape of a smiley. Mayhaps Sunny was thinking drowning equal good again. You should really stop that. There are places you just blatantly can't go. Absolutely everything is scatterbrained and not in the way the weather vane was. This is deliberate, methinks. For example, Omori gets afraid of a hairdryer if you turn it on. A hairdryer being something Mari probably used. She has all that hair, you know. That's so small, but it shows how Sunny's mind has grown to equate such things here. Fear of sudden loud noises, like the one that takes place whenever the something appears. This is an endless forest, both vertically and horizontally. It's so easy to get lost, and navigating feels next to impossible. Even with the map, it's like Sunny's thought process in playable form. You end up running in circles to find something, maybe a glimmer of something new, only to be met with the same conclusion and things again and again and again. The definition of insanity. I initially thought Kel was silly for running around like he was before I realized that I was doing the exact same thing. On a brighter note, Aubrey's school is here and it's wonderful. What a ship. I want 20 copies of just a game wholly about these two. They're cute. This scene is likely down here because Sunny was too embarrassed to think about it again. It's clearly well thought out and has more structure than anything down here, but it's too awkward to even bring up. Also, you know, he hasn't spoken to Aubrey in years, and when he thinks about these repressed feelings for her, he probably thinks to himself, I should kill myself. You know, he probably thinks that. You know, because that's how the mind works. Still, the crush he had/has in the true route is an adorable little thing, and a welcome reprieve from all this madness. It's even pushed aside in Black Forest 2 as Omori dozing off, which shows that, yeah, it's kind of a separate thing from everything else. A brief reprieve from the belligerents. Black Forest 2 represents Sunny's thoughts at their most strained. And that I mean he's trying to stay positive, but just can't. I honestly think that's why Kel is here and, unless I'm mistaken, is the most common character among all of Black Space 2. Sunny looks up to his jovialness, but just can't emulate that. He can't be that happy person. He can't be something he's not. In this looping purgatory, it should also be noted that you can't stab yourself to escape. You have to wonder about this confusion until you find somewhere like the Heads Looking Up room to go back to Black Space. I think that this is perfect gameplay message integration, because if this area truly does represent a breakdown, those are not something you can just escape from. You have to weather the storm, or it will weather you. Unlike its sequel, Black Forest 1 is actually quite structured, like a vast library with multiple volumes containing each of Sunny's deepest fears and traumas. I think it's cool that you start in an area that's disconnected from everything, and all paths, save for the webbed path north, lead nowhere. It's like, even down here, Sunny is trying to cut himself off from experiencing the pain just ahead. Of course, a web is just an obstacle, and Omori can cut those down effortlessly. But it's set dressing, you know. It's about the whole what goes into this. The first volume of interest is the distorted faraway park. Of course, the dreary color scheme and the split Omori heads mean that there's going to be a deafening lack of nostalgia. The swing set where Aubrey should be, the empty surroundings, and the smattering of tentacles that let you know that, hey, at least you're not alone. This area is like looking at an old picture and noticing that someone is missing, or the front door of a welcoming childhood home in the middle of a hallway, catching a glimpse of a friend behind you and turning around to find out that you're now in the middle of the woods in the dead of night. What I'm getting at is this place is trying to be fun. It really is. You can slide, and there's the piñata guy, of course. He likes swinging, but it feels wrong and leaves a vacancy in the heart just because of the eerie vibe surrounding it. This is Sunny's trauma with his friends. How they all left one another after Mari's death, leaving Sunny isolated in his room, clinging to the memories. Hell, one of the Omori heads is halved, both symbolizing the separation from the people in his life, and himself, what that separation does to him personally. The slowly mounting differences between Omori and Sunny split his personality. It's why you can see headspace elements in the real world, and why you literally cannibalize Sunny's head to get a power boost. On the topic of things that are the product of stunning loneliness, via interacting with the Omori head at the very top, you teleport to this room where, oh hey Aubrey and ancillary others. Given the depressing state of everything so far, seeing them would elicit the immediate reaction to go and say hi. Thing is, this hallway goes on forever and you will never reach them. It's kinda like the weather vane room